Okay, Dr. Mini, can you go ahead?
Yes,
You are
hi.
now live on YouTube.
Thank you. Greetings. Good evening, everybody from New York. My apologies. For some reason, technology sometimes has a mind of its own. I could not change my background, but I will try to do it later. So thank you, first of all, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, friends, all protocols observed. There is some background noise. Please, housekeeping rules. Can you all mute your mics till you start speaking, please? So it's an honor to join you today in commemorating the International Day of Diplomacy as we celebrate the remarkable women in different fields who have shaped international relations through courage, compassion, and commitment to peace. It's very interesting that today is observed as the International Day of Women in Diplomacy. It's 18 years, ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests, since the United Nations has come into existence. And we are still struggling to have a woman secretary general. As we know, there are stellar candidates who are running, and let us hope we finally see the light of the day, especially in these times that we do have a woman who becomes our SG. And next year in 2027, as we celebrate the United Nations International Day of Women in Diplomacy, the observance, we actually have a woman SG. And as a physician and a public health professional, working, as an NGO, as a consultant in the United Nations, I have witnessed, as all of us have, the firsthand that diplomacy extends far beyond negotiating treaties. It's about building trust. It's about fostering partnerships. It's about protecting human dignity and advancing social development and sustainable development. Women bring invaluable perspectives to diplomacy, and I thank all my esteemed colleagues here. Thank you all for joining us on Thursday. And Ada, my partner in crime, we've been working together for almost 2 decades. And also Pam Morgan, our esteemed co-chair of CSW. I've known Pam for a number of years. And you don't have to be credentialed as a diplomat, because I think all of us women bring diplomacy. We are diplomats because we want peace at heart. As women, mothers, sisters, friends, colleagues, this is what we want. And the leadership of women strengthens conflict prevention, inclusive dialogue, and ensures that issues such as health, education, climate change, gender equality, and human rights remain central to international cooperation. Unfortunately, women continue to be underrepresented in senior diplomatic positions worldwide, reminding us that much work needs to be done by us to achieve true parity. And the challenges which face our world today, from pandemics, whether it's COVID, Ebola, I can go on about so many, and climate change, to the humanitarian crises and armed conflict. These cannot be solved without having women at the table, actual participants. We need to be making the decisions. Diverse voices, especially including women, create stronger policies, more durable peace, and healthier societies. As we look to the future, let us invest in mentoring young women. That's why we have forums like these, removing structural barriers to leadership and ensuring every young girl, every young woman with aspiration to serve her nation and the world has an open and equal opportunity. The reason I use the word open is so that it's on the same par as her male colleagues, her brothers, and her friends. Together, let us build a world where diplomacy respects the diversity of humanity and where women are not the exception at the table, but equal partners in shaping our common future. And what I tell all my students, anybody, if they don't give you a chair, pull up a chair. If there's no room for a chair, stand up and pound your hands on the table. That's what we've all been doing. So thank you so much for giving me this chance. And now I would like to invite Professor Ada Okika, Senior Advisor for the Water and Sanitation to the United Nations. She's also the Chief Governor and Department of Northeastern Affairs at WLMI-ICC. I got all that right. Ada, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Padmini, always being there. And I want to thank everyone, the attendees, the speakers, and those listening to us virtually from YouTube or Facebook. I want to appreciate you for joining this August event in trying to renew our commitment in consideration for women in diplomacy. You see, this event is very pertinent to me because this is the time we women in diplomacy will have to think, what do we actually want? Do we still have to continue with having a man as a Secretary General in 81 years? United Nations is in their 80th year. And in these 80 years, we never had a woman Secretary General. And it recurred in my mind that during the COVID, it's only 17 countries headed by women has no emergency on COVID. So if this is our profile, why is it difficult for a woman to be, even once, even if it's 1 year, for a Secretary General at United Nations, the uppermost decision-making that is binding to 193 nations? It is very heartening. And I am very pleased that we thank God that we have been given the privilege to be to hold the office of Deputy Secretary General for 8 years. That is laudable, and I want everyone to clap to this event, that in 80 years, we have been able to move the women to the position of Deputy Secretary General. And I want us to thank God for that. But as Oliver Twist, we want more. Right, so that it will be a balanced equation. Right now, the equation is not yet balanced. And we want to talk that it is time that we speak with one voice. I am happy that we are celebrating this United Nations International Day for Women in Diplomacy at this time when we are thinking about for another Secretary General for United Nations. And this time is the right time for us to reflect, rethink. Women, I know my country, there was a time a woman came out for president, to be president of Nigeria. She had just one vote, which it was only her vote. No woman out of the 300 million of the population of the country voted for her. Even women did not vote for her. So it is time for us women to think. Look inside the inbox, look inside the box, think out of the box. What actually do we want? Do we want to continue to be glamorized? Yes, our beauty glamorizes us, but not our skills, not our talent, not our inherent potentials, not the gift of development, management, skills of advancement that God has given us. My boss, Dr. Nabhit Kapoor, will say, Dr. Ada, I'm angry. She will draw the word angry as if it is the last word to end this generation. But he said, and now I am drawing that word to say, I am angry. And I wish to re-echo that we women should sit up. So with that said, I want to distinguish leaders, esteemed diplomats, female peace ambassadors, development partners, and global advocates for peace. Today, we join the international community to commemorate the International Day of Women in Diplomacy, a day that honors the courage, the competence, the catalytic influence of women who shape the moral and strategic direction of our world. This year's theme, Women in Diplomacy, Influence in Conflict Resolution and Peace Building, Implementation for Female Peace Ambassadors, invites us to reflect on the indispensable role of women in building peace, just and sustainable societies. This event, organized by the Observer Mission of the Pan-African Intergovernmental Agency for Water and Sanitation to the United Nations, and WOLMI, World of Life Ministries International Consulting Cabinet Department of Northeastern Affairs, will reflect on the theme with respect to women in diplomacy, female peace ambassadors, conflict resolution and peace building, the work of WOLMI-ICC, that's International Consulting Cabinet of Department of Northeastern Affairs, the Observer Mission of Pan-African Intergovernmental Agency for Water and Sanitation to the United Nations. And also, we are going to reflect on the global significance of women in diplomacy. Women in diplomacy bring a distinct strength to global leadership, a strength rooted in collaboration, empathy, ethical clarity, and community-centered problem solving. Research across the United Nations system that peace agreements shaped with women participation are more durable, more inclusive, and more responsive to human needs. This is because women approach diplomacy not merely as negotiation, but as a stewardship of human dignity. Women excel in collaborative leadership that builds trust, inclusive decision-making that strengthens legitimacy, and human-centered diplomacy that prioritizes people over politics. What we are asking for a women's secretary is not politics, not political. It is a priority that it is the right thing to do. Their influence is visible in global peace process across the globe, from community level mediation across the regions. Women influence in conflict resolution and peace building. Women bring four strategic contributions to peace processes: mediation and negotiation, reaffirming conflict around shared human needs, conflict analysis and early warning, that is detecting risk before they escalate, gender-responsive peace building, addressing root causes, not symptoms. And I thank God that the mission of Pan-African Intergovernmental Agency for Water and Sanitation has launched Water Her as an initiative for a gender-responsive agenda in trying to address peace and clean water and sanitation across the globe in terms of what women are suffering in terms of access to clean water and sanitation. This event, the women influence, also look at ethical diplomacy and multilateral engagement, which is strengthening accountability and transparency. Women do not simply participate in peace process. We work to transform them. So what is the implication for female peace ambassador, which is the anchor for this event? For you, female peace ambassador, this day is not only a celebration, it is a commissioning. Your mandate is to stand as mediators where communities are divided, serve as early warning voices where tensions are rising, advocate for justice, inclusion, and human security, model ethical diplomacy in a world where hungry for integrity build bridges across cultures, faiths, and generations. We are called as women female peace ambassadors to embody the spirit of United Nations Security Council 1325, ensuring that women are not only beneficiaries of peace, but architects of peace. In everywhere, it's only women that are architects of peace. We don't benefit from peace, but we are architects that advocate for peace. Right from the home, right from the bedroom, right from the children, in the family on children, we advocate for peace at all times. If you are in a home as a woman, when you are their father is fighting with the children, what do? You advocate. You advocate for peace among father and children. So we have advocacy for peace. It is our second beauty. It is our second garment. It is our second makeup at all point in time. That wherever a woman is, her position is to advocate for peace.
Thank you,
So what
Professor
is the work of
Ada.
oh my God.
Thank you. You have 30 seconds to finish. Sorry,
Okay, thank you.
ladies, gentlemen, guests, I am a very
So we
strict
look at the work
moderator.
of
We need to keep the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We need at the work of Word of Life Ministry International ICC Department of Northeastern Affairs, which I head. It is the consulting cabinet department that stands as a model of faith-rooted, ethical, and community-centered diplomacy. And then we talk about the work of the water and sanitation to the UN that brings complementary dimension of peace building, water diplomacy, that the role of women is very vital. Water is not only a development issue, but also a peace and security issue. And then how do we convert these two mandates? Peace, water, and human dignity. The synergy between WOLMI-ICC and WSA reveals a powerful model of integrated diplomacy. WOLMI builds ethical leaders. WASA, that's Water and Sanitation Agency, strengthens sustainable systems, and together they advance human dignity. This convergence demonstrates the peace building that must be interdisciplinary, combining social ethics, environmental stewardship, scientific evidence, community empowerment, and multilateral cooperation. And we need to strengthen women's participation in all peace processes, invest in leadership of female peace ambassadors, promote gender-responsive diplomacy, advance water security as a pillar for peace, and build partnerships that honor dignity. May we rise with courage. Women, I'm talking to you this time. May we rise with courage. May we lead with compassion. May we negotiate with clarity. And may we build with conviction. And may your influence continue to shape a world where peace is not the exception, but the expectation. Happy
Thank you so
International Day
much.
for Women in Diplomacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's not that I was trying to cut your flow of language and your enthusiasm, but we got to move on, because of time. And it's my great pleasure to invite our, ambassador starting. But I have a request from Miss Pam Morgan, our esteemed chair of the NGO-CSW. Her granddaughter has a birthday today in her house and is waiting for her grandmom. So happy birthday. So after our two distinguished guests finish and parliamentarian Honorable Miss Westcott Williams, with your permission, can I have Miss Morgan go before you, ma'am? Because as sisters, we need to support her. Her granddaughter will be disappointed if her grandmom runs late. So, and then may I call on you if that's okay with everybody? And Ada, don't kill me for suggesting that, but we have to go with the flow. Thank you so much. Thank you for your remarks and your enthusiasm. And by the way, I think we all need scarves as the one you're wearing so that we can display them when the high-level political forum starts. So, our first guest today is our esteemed ambassador, Dr. Agnes Mary Chimri Molande, the ambassador and the permanent representative Republic of Malawi to the United Nations in New York. And Her Excellency will focus on women's leadership in diplomacy. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your time. We really appreciate that. So please take it away. The floor is yours. Thank you, ma'am. Ada, is Her Excellency on? I don't see her here.
Okay, go to next speaker and try
Yes,
to
I
get
will.
her.
I will. I just want to make sure. So that moving, see, that's what we are women. We improvise. I have delivered babies in the field with plastic bags when gloves are not available. So our next keynote presentation, high level, will be by Her Excellency, Dr. Vivian Okiki, Nigeria's permanent representative of Nigeria to the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. Madam Ambassador, thank you for having such an extraordinary role in a male-dominated field. And thank you for your time, ma'am. And, you will be focusing on influence in conflict resolution and peace building, implication for female peace ambassadors, and women's leadership in multilateral diplomacy. Thank you, Your Excellency. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andima. Thank you, Professor Dr. Okik, for the invitation to contribute to this very important conversation, celebrating the International Day of Women in Diplomacy. I want to thank you for this timely topic of the theme, which is the theme of your engagement is influence in conflict resolution and peace building implication for female ambassadors. I want to start by sharing my background. I have been in the diplomacy for over 35 years. I represented my country as a diplomat in Washington, D.C., in New York, in Brussels, Belgium, and as an ambassador of Nigeria to Austria. And then after, I now was assigned to represent the International Atomic Energy Agency here in New York at the United Nations. Today, we are celebrating women in diplomacy. We are not only participants in international affairs, but we're also architects of peace, advocates for equality, and leaders shaping the future of global cooperation. When women are represented at the table where decisions are made, diplomacy becomes more reflective of the people it serves and better equipped to advance lasting peace, sustainable development, and human dignity. Across diplomatic missions, multilateral institutions, and international negotiations, women continue to make invaluable contributions to dialogue, consensus building, conflict resolution, peace building, and international cooperation. The leadership of women in diplomacy helps to bridge national priorities and global challenges, advancing solutions that promote human rights, security, and shared responsibility. Thus, today, as we mark the International Day of Women in Diplomacy, it serves as a powerful reminder that the pursuit of peace and progress depends on the inclusion of diverse voices and experiences. It is both a celebration of the achievement of women diplomats and a call to strengthen efforts to remove barriers, expand opportunities, and ensure that future generations of women can lead, influence, and shape the course of international affairs. Now, I want to come back to myself, an example of how, through my experience, we have been able to mediate peace and influence the course of international affairs. I was privileged to be a facilitator of a UN outcome document on Commission on the Status of Women in 2019. I, and with the help of other fellow women ambassadors like the ambassador of Mexico, were able to negotiate this outcome document, which reflected the way forward for how countries could collaborate in the pursuit of Commission on the situation of drugs globally. This is one of the key examples I can place as one of the things we were able to build consensus. I do recall that it took weeks of negotiations for that outcome document. The last day when we finally agreed, it was about 3 a.m. It was on the day eve of the National Women's Day. And one paragraph, one sticking paragraph that the representative of Canada was saying, no, we will not agree to this language. I now used the female card. I said, can I propose a new language? And can you concede this to me as a woman leading this process? As today we are marking International Women's Day. And that disarmed this representative, and he was able to agree to that. So we had this document adopted by consensus. What am I saying? Women involvement in diplomacy helps to engender consensus, helps to build bridges. I have seen it firsthand as a diplomat of over 35 years. Now, in my present role as a representative of International Atomic Energy Agency, we all know the International Atomic Energy Agency is the international organization that is mandated to maintain international peace by ensuring that countries do not obtain nuclear weapons. We have been privileged to witness the cause of what happened when there was the nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and which led to the World War. After that initial bombing, the leaders of the world, led by United States, President Eisenhower, now gave a speech at the United Nations and said, enough, we must have an organization. That is the origin of the establishment of International Atomic Energy Agency. We must have an organization that can transcribe this technology, that is, use it for peaceful purposes and not to kill. And so the National Atomic Energy Agency was vetted in 1957 to help to advance the beneficial use of the technology, nuclear science and technology. We have been able to, over the decades, been able to use this technology to advance human health. The use of nuclear technology can be used for treatment of cancer and identification of a cancer. It can be used for electricity, use of nuclear power to advance electricity. It can also be, the technology can be used for food security, using radiated seeds in order to get bomber harvest. The technology is also used for climate change mitigation and adaptation, for plastic pollution, tracing microplastics in the ocean. So all these benefits of the technology is what the IAEA is now focused on, trying to use the technology to advance socioeconomic development of member states. And at the same time, be able to use advanced technology to monitor, it's called safeguards, to monitor how countries are using nuclear facilities, and that they're ensuring that they're using it in a peaceful way in order not to have nuclear bomb. In this particular field, it is a highly technical scientific body. I'm not a scientist, I'm a diplomat, but like Professor Kiki said, when women apply themselves, they come out successful. I have been able to, through the support of other colleagues, been able to learn on the job and be able to really show that I am capable of representing the mandate of the organization. In the same vein, we have been able to also have programs, educational programs, to help women to study nuclear science and technology. The Director General of the organization had launched what you call the Maria Sklodowski-Curie Fellowship Program, which helps to give scholarships to female scientists who are interested in the study of nuclear science and technology in order for them to be able to be part of the workforce of the International Atomic Energy Agency. So I want to close these remarks by quoting the DSG Amina Mohammed this morning when he gave her message on this day. She said, quote, "We must ensure that women are not only in diplomacy, but influential in shaping its outcome." How can women be in diplomacy and also be influential in shaping its outcome? It is by education. It is by the foundation of making sure that we provide the necessary enablement to have educated, well-educated women who can fit into the role of playing a diplomatic role of in any organization they are in. I also want to leave you with the quote of the president of ECOSOC, who said, "Peace is more enduring when women participate in it." We all agree on that. And therefore, my message is that we must ensure that women issues are central to our efforts of building peace and security. Peace is not declared, it is engineered and maintained and lasts longer when women help to shape it. The call to action is for sustained investment in women-led initiatives, as we have highlighted now as what we're doing in the IAEA. I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your inspiring remarks and the fabulous work you've been doing. When the young people see this, you're a great role model. Thank you so
Oh
much.
my God.
Thank you so much. Ada, can we have a photograph, please? Because all our speakers are there, can we have a screenshot?
Mm.
Okay, and next I would like to call upon our parliamentarian, Ms. Sarah Westcott Williams, the Honorable Ms. Sarah Westcott Williams, who is the President and Speaker of Parliament, Sint Maarten, constituent country of the Netherlands, and also the former Prime Minister of Sint Maarten. I hope I pronounced the name Sint Maarten correctly, Madam Parliamentarian. I was practicing it because I wanted to make sure I was enunciating it properly. And thank you again, Ambassador.
The other side.
Pardon me, can somebody mute their phone, please? Can somebody mute their mic?
Can everyone, all the speakers, be on camera?
Yes, when you're not
and everyone
speaking. Yeah,
with
and then
anyone with any good camera, can you take us a photograph, please?
yeah, we need a screenshot.
And before we get over to Her
Excellency, the parliamentarian, Ms.
actually, she's
Westcott
in the
Williams.
parliament, and I have to whisk her out to speak.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, if somebody could get a
Excellency, Dr. Agnes, is it possible to be on camera for this photograph? And
yes.
Somebody who is on diplomacy conflict, I don't know your name. Your name is not here, but I see your background and you are excellent. Please, can someone with good Android phone take a photograph?
Let me try to take one, but I don't want to be seen that I'm taking it. So if somebody else can, so let us see. I'm doing my best. Yeah, hopefully without, my showing my camera.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and then we have, I think I got everybody. Hang on. Yes, I have to get our ambassador, and of course, Ambassador Victoria, whom we all love and know for such a long time. We love all the women. They're so powerful. Yeah. But I have only one partner in crime, and that is Ada. Right, Ada? We go back too long.
Yes, thank
you so much. And now I would like to request our parliamentarian, Ms. Sarah Westcott. Thank you, ma'am, for your time. The mic is yours. Thank you so much. And may I request all the speakers very respectfully, I'm Indian American, so I always say namaste, that we keep to time because we want to have everybody speak. So thank you so much. I mean, we could go on the whole night. It would be great. Unfortunately, it's not practical. So, Madam Parliamentarian, The floor is yours. Thank you so much. And thank you, Your Excellency, for your great remarks and the work you're doing.
Greetings all. To many of you, familiar faces, and some who I'm now meeting in this Zoom. I want to extend best wishes to all of you excellencies in diplomacy, specifically you women in diplomacy, and start by thanking you for the work that you have been doing over the years, over the decades. It was always understood what is expected of you. And as you executed your jobs and those who have gone before you in diplomacy, it was about negotiations. It was about negotiating skills. It was about you sitting around the tables in discussions regarding matters such as peace, such as the avoidance of conflicts and the like. However, and before I continue, let me indicate that I'm speaking from the Caribbean, and coincidentally, I am attending a conference on artificial intelligence and also the effect of artificial intelligence on women and the negative effect of artificial intelligence on the disparities that exist where women are concerned. And so, as I look at diplomacy, I realize that the traditional role in which some of you operate have over the years expanded into so much more. And the reason I referred to the conference here in Anguilla is because technology is having such an impact on that role of diplomacy, on that role of peace building, on that role of being negotiators, at making sure that you sit at the table where discussions are taking place. So if today offers a breather in terms of reflecting on that work, in terms of reflecting on that role, then that is only going to be greater. And that is why I think this forum is so timely and so appropriate, where the encouragement to all you women in the area of peace building, solution seeking, being the in between in order to ensure that parties and partners can get together in a way that we can discuss where conflicts might arise before they arise. And so, as we reflect on your role, on the role of women in diplomacy, as we reflect on the need for peace in so many areas, as we reflect on the potential of conflict in so many areas, I dare say to you that your role has taken on added dimensions. The role of leadership by women in every area possible is also one that we women who are in that leadership position should understand the impact and the influence that we can have. It is not we here in this forum or women talking about the impact of women leadership. It has been proven, it has been written, it has been researched, and we now are called to fulfill that role. As we reflect on women in diplomacy and what is being required of you in this volatile world we live in, it is the opportunity to not only reflect on our own individual roles and how we can strengthen those roles, but it is also necessary to make sure that we can ensure that women have that seat at the tables where it matters most, where it matters most for our communities, where it matters more for the world. And so I am truly honored to be able to share this platform with you, to share the aspirations that we all have and how we look up to those women in the roles of peace building, of negotiating, of mediating, that then we can also support females who are in those roles and females who can take up the mantle of leadership in critical positions in the world today. I hear the cry, because that is what it is, for a female SG of the United Nations. And yes, it is not only time, it is actually something that has to happen if we want to ensure a peaceful coexistence of all of the different groups and countries in the world today. I applaud you for your work. And I look forward to continuing the dialogue, because the dialogue between us strengthen each and every one in terms of our role, our commitment, our passion for peace, our passion for resolutions, lasting resolutions throughout the world today. Again, Madam Moderator, thank you for the opportunity as I try to multitask a little, but I could not take the opportunity to say a few words on this very important day and recognize the role of women in diplomacy.
Thank you so much, Honorable Parliamentarian and former Prime Minister. Thank you for AI, because that is something I'm passionate about, and especially AI for women. And anytime you need Ada, my partner in crime, we talk for each other, or me to work with you, ma'am, we are happy to help with the other people. And just before I call upon our next honorable speaker, I wanted to say one thing, a take-home message you gave all of us is SWOT. That is the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And this is what we need to turn every weakness and every threat into an opportunity and strength. So thank you again. Much appreciated. Both our distinguished speakers, you see. So why do they say there's a man's club? We have a women's club right here. Yay! Let us give ourselves a big round of applause and move together, because women, one thing I would like to say, in the spelling of woman or women is man. So, just as my background, maybe it's God's way of saying my thing didn't work, because just as these colors go together, they need to work with us. Thank you so much again. And I wish you great deliberations, and we look forward to being in touch with both of you. Our next guest is who will be giving us a special guest statement with a focus on women's leadership in diplomacy, on global frameworks and the UNSCR 1325. And Ada, I just want to give you a shout out, not because you're my friend and partner in crime, but because this is something we've been pushing so much in everything we've been doing is 1325, whether it is the GPS, the global priority for gender strategy, or My Sister's Health Watch. So your Excellency, Dr. Agnes Mary Chimbri Molande, the Ambassador and the Permanent Representative of the Republic of Malawi to the United Nations. Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today. Much appreciated. The floor is yours. Again, a big applause to all our women diplomats, because you are representing us, our girls, and our communities. Please take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, moderator. And thank you for inviting me to speak. And just to let you know, let everybody know that I was one of the few women who crafted the resolution that led to the creation of the International Day of Women in Diplomacy in June 2024. So I'm really happy that this day has become has become the day that we can all come together as women and be able to celebrate and be able to remind each other what role we play as women. You know, I would like to share one thing, that diplomacy starts in the house. And therefore, as women, as girl child, we are always learning diplomacy from our mothers. So we maintain it in our jobs. Wherever we go, we are always in diplomatic work. We are always negotiating, understanding of issues in the job, particularly this time when women are still fewer in the workplaces. We have to negotiate our positions. We have to negotiate our space. We have to negotiate in decision-making process. And that's why this day is very important for women and girls. Secondly, in peace and security, women are very good mediators, and therefore, as women in diplomacy, we are very good at mediating. Those women who have been chairmen or presidents of the UN Security Council, we have seen how they have done very well, and men have always been impressed by women who have been presidents of the General Assembly, of the Security Council, because they've been able to really negotiate and be able to negotiate a number of issues and be able to bring in, lobby in more people in the areas or in the decision or particular issue of peace and security. So even in development, it is women who really remember that women and children are always left behind. And therefore, whenever we are planning out any resolutions, it is women in diplomacy who are always remembering that where are the women, where are the children, where are the young people? Because it's in our nature that we always think of the world at large. So I wanted to remind everybody that it is in women's nature that we are natural mediators, natural negotiators, natural, dealers who make deals. And that's what diplomacy is all about. And I would like to wish you all happy International Day of Women in Diplomacy. And let's remember always that we are mediators, we are the negotiators, and we should also make sure that more women are going into the diplomatic world. I thank you.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for your remarks and being with us on this very important day. And thank you for all your efforts in getting this resolution, ma'am. And thank you for your clarion call where you said, other people who want to join. And before I call upon our next speaker, Ada, I think you will join me in thanking two men who've always helped women. One is Ambassador Antoine, former ambassador of Grenada to the United Nations, whom we've had the pleasure of working with, and also Ambassador Chowdhury, who was very instrumental, also with whom we've had the pleasure of working with, for 1325. But I just wanted to say, so that the men don't accuse us of discrimination, we are acknowledging them. So that being said, and I would like to get the permission of all our excellencies, since Miss Morgan has to leave because it's her granddaughter's birthday. I think, could we have her go first before Ambassador Suleiman, Ambassador Tomisha, and Ambassador Dr. Arlene, if that is okay by you, please? And also Ambassador Professor Anita. You see, so that Miss Morgan, I give you the floor, and Pam Morgan is the co-chair of the NGO CSW. And I just want to say, no brownie points here, but she, along with her other colleagues and co-chair, has been doing so much of work in especially this difficult time. And I've had the privilege and pleasure of working with Pam Watt for 15 years, Pam, when I was on the executive NGO and other things. So Pam, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, May. And needless to say, following behind Ambassador Agnes is a very difficult task. But good day, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, members of civil society, and friends. Thank you to Ambassador Ada and Dr. Mani Murthy, my friend for over a decade. It's an honor to join this conversation on transformative leadership and multilateral spaces for grassroots communities. And it's really an honor to be among this distinguished panel celebrating the International Day of Women in Diplomacy. From a civil society perspective, transformative leadership is not about occupying positions of power. It's really about creating pathways for participation, amplifying voices that have been historically excluded, and ensuring that global decision-making reflects the realities of the people on the ground. For grassroots communities, whether it's in the United States or wherever the grassroots community is, leadership is often born not in conference rooms, but in villages, neighborhoods, refugee camps, classrooms, and community centers. It's shaped by lived experience, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to justice. Yet too often, the people closest to the challenges are the furthest from the tables where the decisions are made. So this is where multilateralism matters. The United Nations was founded on the principle that global challenges require collective solutions. However, for multilateral institutions to remain relevant and effective, they must be accessible to those whose lives are most directly affected by the policies and resolutions they produce. Transformative leadership requires moving beyond consultation towards genuine partnership with grassroots communities and civil society organizations. As representatives of civil society, we have witnessed firsthand the value of leaders who understand that inclusion strengthens outcomes. We have seen how meaningful engagement with civil society enriches discussions, broadens perspectives, and ultimately leads to more sustainable and equitable solutions. In this regard, I would like to acknowledge the remarkable leadership demonstrated by many African women ambassadors serving at the UN. Their commitment to dialogue, accessibility, and partnership with civil society has created important opportunities for grassroots voices to be heard within the multilateral process. Too often, civil society engagement is viewed as an obligation rather than an asset. Yet many African women ambassadors have shown a different model of leadership, one rooted in listening, collaboration, and recognition that community organizations are essential partners in advancing development, peace, and human rights. I would be remiss if I failed to acknowledge Ambassadors Agnes Chimbiri Malandi from Malawi, who just spoke, and Ambassador Matthew Joyeni from South Africa, who over the years have modeled this behavior in support of my work and the work of NGO CSW New York. Their willingness to participate in civil society briefings, engage with NGO representatives, and create spaces for honest exchange demonstrates a form of leadership that is both practical and transformative. It reflects an understanding that expertise does not reside solely within institutions. Expertise also resides within communities, among women leaders, youth activists, indigenous activists, and grassroots organizers who navigate complex realities every day. And this leadership is particularly important for women and girls. Around the world, as you know, grassroots women's organizations are often the first responders to crisis and the last institution standing when formal systems fail. They provide support to survivors of violence. They advocate for access to education. They protect human rights defenders, advance economic opportunities, and build social cohesion. Yet, these same organizations frequently struggle to access funding, influence policy discussions, or participate meaningfully and international forums. So we know that transformative leadership requires changing that reality. It requires creating mechanisms that allow grassroots organizations not only to attend multilateral meetings, but to share agendas, inform negotiations, and contribute to implementation. It means recognizing that representation alone is not enough. Participation must be meaningful, sustained, and adequately resourced. We must also recognize the important role that young people play in this transformation. Youth leaders are redefining advocacy, leveraging technology such as the use of AI that the previous speaker spoke of, mobilizing communities and challenging institutions to become more responsive and inclusive. Their perspectives are essential if we are to build multilateral systems that can address the interconnected challenges of our time, from climate change and conflict to economic inequality and digital transformation. So the African women ambassadors who have embraced collaboration with civil society remind us that transformative leadership is possible. Their example demonstrates that diplomacy can be both principled and inclusive, strategic and compassionate, global in scope, and grounded in community realities. Let us build on that example. Let us also support the actualization of Madam Secretary General. Let us work together to create multilateral spaces where grassroots communities are not merely invited to observe, but are recognized as essential partners in shaping our collective future. Because transformation is not measured by the number of people who follow a leader, it is measured by the number of people empowered to lead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. Appreciate your remarks as, one of the leaders of the civil society. Thank you for your time and happy birthday from all of us to your granddaughter. And I'm sure it'll be great. So thank you so much. And again, I would like to echo what Pam said. As a member of the civil society for more than quarter century, that we really appreciate the work of all the women ambassadors, especially those from Africa, for breaking barriers and shattering the glass ceiling. And our next esteemed speaker is Ambassador Dr. Tomisha D. Walker, who is the Deputy Director of the WLMI-ICC World Missions Peace Building, who will be talking about mediation negotiation skills. So over to you, Ambassador Walker. Thank you so much.
Thank you so kindly. I greatly appreciate your introduction as well as this esteemed and august body. Thank you so much for all coming together today. Dr. Ada, were you able to share my PowerPoint today? As we begin, I just want to say thank you so much to Her Excellency Ambassador Professor Ada, as well as to all of the excellencies, the diplomats, the peace ambassadors, and civil society leaders, and specifically our faith-based partners and women called to this sacred discipline of peace. Good day to you all. Thank you so much for joining us together as we speak on this International Day of Women in Diplomacy. Under this theme of women in diplomacy, influence in conflict resolution and peace building, the implications for female peace ambassadors, I want to speak today from a space of clarity, discipline, and application. Thank you, Your Excellency. Because peace is not accidental, but rather it is designed, negotiated, and mediated. Peace is built. Now, when women are fully included, as we've spoken about today, peace becomes more than a signed agreement. It actually becomes a living system of dignity, protection, justice, and restoration. You see, the central thesis of what I want to share with you is that women do not merely belong in peace and the peace process, but truly we are here to strengthen and rebuild the justice of the process. The United Nations Charter calls the global community to settle disputes by peaceful means so that the international peace, security, and justice, they're not endangered. It's not an abstract language, but a practical mandate that we've been given. So for female peace ambassadors, I want to speak to you directly for a moment. This means our work must move from inspiration to deployment. And many of us are moving in that way, but we also need to make sure that we are equipped to listen, analyze, mediate, negotiate, document, refer, and advocate to help our communities move out of these spaces of conflict and into constructive action. Many of us are taking those steps, but it's up to us to make sure that we're able to bring forth a legacy of that continuing with others. The participation gap is measurable, but it is correctable. We see that there are so many women that remain underrepresented in formal peace processes, as we've heard already. And even though their leadership is essential to durable, sustainable peace, there's a problem with the capacity building that we're doing. It's not a courtesy, but it literally is a requirement for us to continue to press forward, to build, and to close this gap. We cannot celebrate women in diplomacy just once a year and leave women out of the rooms, of the ceasefires, of the community agreements, and of the recovery plans. We have to do a better job as female peace ambassadors to prepare our communities to work as a circle that is dealing in a space of a diplomatic and equitable space of justice, where we are not only at the table, but we are literally rebuilding it. So our work rests on three main foundations. As we've spoken a bit to the UN Charter, which calls us to peaceful settlement, justice, and collective responsibility. And then next, we have the UN Security Council Resolution of 1325, which affirms that women's participation, protection, and recovery is the peace and security that is necessary. And third, that the global recognition of things like today, Women in Diplomacy Day, helps to remind us that there needs to be consistent visibility in our representation and our influence. So I would like to add to that, though, a fourth foundation, our moral courage. So as a faith-based peace builder, I believe that diplomacy without dignity becomes just performance. That peace building without justice literally is just a delay, and that we need to make sure that we are negotiating within the means of making sure that we are protecting others from all forms of harm. So for us as female peace ambassadors, we need to operate from what I call a peace continuum, where we are able to begin with the community, maybe listening to what they need, and then moving into a conflict analysis, as we heard about earlier, and then making sure that we have a policy dialogue, and then maybe even monitoring the implementation. See, because many of us, I'm excited to say, move from spaces of seeing there being a need for change into the activities of making the change. But how then are we going to make sure that we are encouraging that legacy and continuing to press it forward into the next generation? Peace must travel from just the table concept, right? From our homes and the policy rooms, but into the hospitals, into the agreements that then affect the mothers, the children, and us as the community. So here's the peace framework that I believe would be an amazing tool for us as we work through mediation and negotiation. The P is that we need to prepare. The E is that we need to establish. The A is that we need to make sure we are asking. The C is that we create, and the E is that we execute. I know that we are moving forward in many things, but I believe that these will help us to walk out where the Lord speaks about in Matthew 5 and 9, that blessed are the peacemakers. So it helps us to move from not just being peace wishers and peace watchers, but to literal peacemakers. So with these skills, we can make sure that we move forward in courage, that we have specific structure, and that we are moving forward responsibly. So this is what it looks like. The P being preparing with truth. Mediation begins before the meeting. We have to plan before we even enter the room. We have to begin to ask, what is the visible issue? What is the hidden wound? Who has the power? And who has been silenced? Those are just a few of the questions that before we even begin to rebuild and to reshape the things that are necessary for sustainable peace, that we get answers to. So as we move forward and we look at maternal justice and we become architects in this new world, we learn that conflict is not always loud. So as we're asking the questions, sometimes conflicts can be just as quiet as something that we notice in an unsafe birth, or maybe with food insecurity. You might not see someone saying something right away with displacement or in a medical crisis, but you see that there's an issue. You see that something needs to happen. So then next we have establishing, the E of peace, that is establishing safety and dignity. Once you ask the questions, then it is time to set some things in place. The A of asking additional strategic questions gives you the chance to tweak, to monitor, to shift things so that they are truly affecting change in your communities. Then we move forward to create, which is creating options, not ultimatums. So when we come in, we make sure that the space that we are rebuilding, people are safe to share what they need, to accept what is offered to them, and then apply the changes that we see documented that need to happen. And then the E in executing the agreements with accountability. So making sure
Excuse
that
me, Ambassador. Sorry,
yes,
thank you so much. Can you please wrap up in the next 30 seconds?
yes,
My
ma'am.
apologies. I say this very respectfully because I have to keep the time. My apologies.
Yes, ma'am. That as we execute the agreements with accountability, that we are making sure that we are moving forward with a goal of not silence, but justice that is organized into practice. As history confirms, these are the things that are needed and have been seen around the world. So I want to say, as we reaffirm what we've seen in the UN Charter and in multiple things, that our voices are necessary, that we need to move forward with immediate and actionable plans, and that we must make sure that we don't just attend the tables that we believe we're called to, but that we redesign the tables to make sure that they meet every need and that accountability is being held. Thank you so much, and may God bless his work in our lives as we continue forward to make change as peace ambassadors. God bless.
Thank you so much, Dr. Walker. That was very nice. Again, I feel badly for very, reminding, but sometimes you have to do that. I just wanted to add one more D to what you said. You said, the diplomacy when you talked about I would also like to say we are diligent diplomats as women. Diligence. So thank you so much for your remarks. Much appreciated. And continue keeping up the good work. We all support each other because we are a women's club. I would like to call upon Ambassador Dr. Victoria Sulaimani, who to discuss about conflict analysis and early warning systems. Ambassador Sulaimani is the Deputy Executive Director, Foreign Service Academy, Republic of Sierra Leone. And we all have the, Ada and I have had the pleasure of knowing her and working with her when she was in New York as the DPR. Thank you so much, ma'am. And now the floor is yours. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Can I be spotlighted, please? Okay. So thank you, Madam Moderator, and permit me to stand on the protocols already established and to extend warm greetings to everyone joining us from around the different parts of the world. I am delighted and honored to participate in this high-level panel. And given my time limit, I'll focus my contribution on my practical experience as a career diplomat and former ambassador accredited to the United Nations, where I was actively engaged in the women peace and security and the peace building agendas. I would like to begin by situating my discussion within the broader framework of Sierra Leone's commitment to the women peace and security agenda and the United Nations peace building framework and the significant strides we made toward gender equality through the enactment of a Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act of 2020. So, the role of women in conflict prevention, resolution, and peace building has evolved over the years into a transformative force that is reshaping international relations through the principles of inclusivity, empathy, equality, and justice. Today, participation in peace processes is no longer limited to women within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Women from diverse professional backgrounds and communities are increasingly contributing to conflict prevention, mediation, negotiation, and post-conflict reconstruction. I believe the reason for this is the fact that women can detect the signs of conflict even before they escalate because of their engagement, direct engagement with the community. So women often bring distinctive strength to diplomacy, including active listening, consensus building, community engagement, and relationship management. This quality make women invaluable actors in both formal and informal peace processes. Drawing from my experience as a career ambassador and from deputy permanent representative to the United Nations, I wish to highlight Sierra Leone's national commitment to gender equality and peace building. This commitment is reflected in key policy instruments such as the Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment Act, as well as our implementation of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 and 1820 on women, peace, and security. I am not going to go deep into the policy and the decisive measures that Sierra Leone has taken for want of time. So I'm going to skip my speech to the early warning dimensions, which I believe was carefully included by the organizers of this high-level panel to strengthen this debate, because women's role in peace processes are not only limited to conflicts, to resolving conflict, but also in preventing conflicts before they escalate. So an important dimension of women's influence in conflict resolution and peace building is their contribution to preventing conflict through early warning mechanisms. Across Africa and other regions of the world, women are often the first to detect signs of rising tensions within families, communities, and societies, even in Sierra Leone during our decade war-long conflicts. Their close engagement with local communities enables them to identify indicators of potential conflict, including social exclusion, political grievances, hate speech, gender-based violence, youth radicalization, and competition over resources. So women therefore play a critical role as agents of early warning and early response. Their participation in community-based monitoring system, local peace committees, and national early warning structures provide government and regional organizations with timely information that can help prevent disputes from escalating into violence. As diplomats and peace ambassadors, we must advocate for the integration of women's voices into national, regional, and continental early warning frameworks, including those established by the African Union and regional economic communities, women's networks, civil society organizations, faith-based groups, and grassroots peace builders should be organized as strategic partners in gathering information, analyzing risk, and recommending preventive actions. The Women, Peace and Security, the Women, Peace and Security agenda reminds us that sustainable peace is not only about responding to conflict, but also about preventing it. Investing in women's participation in early warning systems enhances our collective capacity to anticipate threats, promote dialogue, and rebuild resilience. Female peace ambassadors in particular have a unique responsibility to serve as bridge between communities, policymakers, and international actors, ensuring that warning signs are identified early and acted upon promptly. In this regard, I believe strengthening women's participation in early warning and preventive diplomacy should be a central pillar of future peace-building strategies across Africa. I want to conclude quickly. I don't want to be called upon to drop the mic. So I want to conclude by giving few action points for women peace ambassadors here present by asking these questions. Why not establish a women in diplomacy mentorship network? How do we do this? We create continent-wide mentorship platforms coordinated by diplomatic academies and foreign service institutes across Africa. I am saying this because presently I'm serving as the Deputy Executive Director, and we are actually putting our curriculum together to ensure that gender issues are mainstreamed even into the curriculum of the Foreign Service Academy. The second action point I want us to consider is incorporate feminist diplomacy in the modules. I'm talking to countries that have diplomatic institutes or diplomatic training centers across Africa. Let us include specialized courses on feminist diplomacy, preventive diplomacy, negotiation, mediation, leadership, and inclusive peace building in our diplomatic studies. And then I will also, by way of recommendation, ask why not promote regional and cross-border collaboration, strengthen collaboration among women diplomats within, like for instance, the Mano River Union, and of course across Africa to exchange experiences, conduct joint research, and advocate for gender-responsive foreign policy. So as we commemorate the United Nations International Day of Diplomacy, I'll call on every one of us to reaffirm our collective commitment to advancing women's leadership in diplomacy, conflict prevention, conflict resolution, and peace building. The future of sustainable peace depends on inclusive participation, and women must continue to occupy their rightful place at every table where decisions about peace and security are made. I want to thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Soleimani. And as your name says, Victoria for victory, you have given a fantastic, suggestion for having a mentorship for female ambassadors. Thank you. And I know my sister and partner in crime, Ada, we will be talking about this. And we send messages to each other at 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. to say, hey, I have an idea. But thank you so much for your time. And, as we are moving on, and again, I would like to invite Ambassador Reverend Dr. Arlene and Bowen Greenfield, the main representative of CICA International University, to CICA, to the International University, to the United Nations. Thank you for your remarks, Reverend. And can you please start now? And again, I apologize. I have to keep to time, like you pay. Like it's when you're moderating, you're like a parent. Those of us who have kids, we try to discipline them. So here I'm not saying discipline, but I'm being the timekeeper here. So I apologize. So Reverend, I call upon you Bowen Greenfield. The floor is yours. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Also, Ada, the chat is disabled. Can you please make sure you ask the admin to enable it for the people who are our webinar participants so that they can post their comments? Thank you so much. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. And can you spotlight me so I can see Norman? Distinguished chairs, thank you so much, Madam. Fellow women ambassadors, esteemed delegates and colleagues, Dr. Professor Ada, thank you so much for the opportunity to share. It is indeed a privilege to join you today as a peace ambassador, recognizing that purpose begins with a calling, but only achieve transformative power when it commands global credibility, influences systems, shapes policy, and forges lasting peace. It is both an honor and a responsibility to stand as one voice among the distinguished women ambassadors today, representing a collective movement of women who are shaping the future of peace. I speak from within the global policy arena, deeply engaged in the United Nations ecosystem, where I have witnessed the progress we rightfully celebrate and the critical gaps we must urgently address. For years, the global narrative has emphasized inclusion, ensuring women are at the table, as been explained by so many of my colleagues. But inclusion alone is not enough. Presence without influence does not transform peace processes. Gender-responsive peace building requires a decisive shift from participation to power, from representation to decision-making authority, and from visibility to structural impact. As women ambassadors, our role is not symbolic. We are here to shape outcomes, influence negotiations, and redefine how peace is constructed. Today, I urge us to move beyond dialogue and toward international systemic transformation through gender-responsive peace-building frameworks. Before I address each pillar of the gender-responsive peace building, I invite us to anchor our vision in the United Nations Gender-Responsive Peace Building Framework, championed by the UN Women and aligned with the Women, Peace and Security Agenda. This is not a theoretical construct. It is a bold, actionable mandate built on 4 unshakable pillars: preventing conflict and violence, ensuring women's full participation at every decision-making table, safeguarding women's right in conflict and post-conflict settings, and driving gender-responsive relief and recovery. When we embed these pillars across every stage through peace processes, from policy conception to ground level implementation, we convert aspiration into durable, measurable progress. The UN Gender Responsive Peace Building Framework is not simply a recommendation. It is our collective charge and the essential blueprint for a just and lasting peace. Let us be clear. A gender-responsive peace-building framework is not a supplementary consideration. It is a strategic imperative for achieving sustainable peace. It ensures that gender perspectives are embedded at every level of peace building, from analysis to implementation. This requires 3 critical pillars. Pillar number 1, gender-informed conflict analysis. We must ask deeper question. Who is impacted and how differently? What roles are women already playing that are unrecognized? Women often experience disproportionate effects of conflict, displacement, economic marginalization, heightened vulnerability, yet simultaneously, they are community stabilizers, informal mediators, first responders. A gender-responsive approach ensures these realities fundamentally shape the architecture and outcome of peace-building efforts. Pillar number 2, equitable participation and leadership. We must move beyond inviting women into spaces to ensure that they have the authority to shape these spaces. And what does this mean? Women at the negotiation tables, women leading mediation processes, women influencing reconstruction and governance. And most critically, women must set the agenda, not merely respond to it. This requires dismantling barriers, institutional limitation, cultural resistance, and economic constraints. Because access without empowerment is not equity. Pillar number 3, accountability and investment. Commitment must translate into measurable action. Gender responsive frameworks must include clear benchmarks for women's leadership, monitoring systems tied to outcomes, dedicated funding streams for women-led initiatives. Because experience shows that what is not resourced is rarely realized. It is not solely a matter of justice. It is a question of effectiveness and strategic action. Evidence and global practice confirms peace agreements last longer when women are involved. Communities recover more sustainable under women's leadership. Conflict prevention is more robust when enduring when women engage from the onset. Why? Because women often build trust across divides, address root causes of conflict, prioritize long-term cohesion. In essence, women do not merely contribute to conflict resolution, they help prevent its reoccurrence. Today, fellow peace ambassadors, as we move forward, I offer 3 calls: institutionalize gender responsiveness framework, normalizing women's leadership in peace processes, and invest in women-led peace initiatives. In closing, my own journey from a deeply personal calling to the global stage demonstrate how purposes, when matched with conviction, and credibility, becomes a force that shapes policy, transform communities, and anchor lasting peace across borders. That journey is not mine alone. It reflects the path of women around the world who are leading in negotiation rooms, stabilizing communities, and influencing global policy platforms. So let us not wait to be included. Let us lead with authority. Let us not seek validation. Let us demonstrate impact. Because when women influence peace processes, peace becomes more than the absence of conflict. It becomes the lived reality of justice, equity, and our shared humanity. I thank you.
Thank you so much. I see a little ambassador here. Hello. Thank you so much for talking about the pillars. Hi. So cute. Thank you so much. So while we go on, I would like to call upon, as we finish this panel, is to talk about diplomacy, ethics, and multilateral engagement is Ambassador Professor Anita McKay. Thank you so much for your patience. And she is the Chief Communications Officer, Department of Education, WLMI-ICC. And thank you so much, Anita, Ambassador Anita. And I have AA. So you are like, you get an A+ for keeping your remarks short. And thank you so much. And also, I would like to ask Dr. Ada Okika if we have the Honorable Dr. Sharon, because I don't see her online, because after Ambassador McKay, we will have Dr. Bouquet Burnley speaking. So the floor is yours, Professor Anita McKay. Take it away. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Moderator, Dr. Padmini Murthy. Thank you so much to Her Excellency, Professor Dr. Ada Juni Okika. Always a pleasure to be with you both. And it's always a pleasure to represent WOLMI, Word of Life Ministries International, with our fearless leader, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Dr. Philip Finn. Thank you so much to all of my fellow women peace builders, and happy International Day of Women Diplomats. I renamed it. So thank you so much. I'm excited to be here on this International Women's Day. And today, this whole time, we have been anchoring our gathering in the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325, right? And we all know that the data is clear, that studies show that when women participate in peace processes, the resulting agreement is 35% more likely to last at least 15 years. What a difference. Women don't just negotiate peace, we make peace a durable, lasting entity. And I even want to elevate our title today, because before the nations recognized our capacity as women for leadership, we were commissioned by the Creator. The United Nations calls us female peace ambassadors, but I want to submit to you today that we are first and foremost kingdom ambassadors. Because diplomacy is the art of representation, representing your kingdom, your nation, your area, but it's guided by ethics, the difference between what's right and wrong, good and bad, and it's carried out at the multilateral table. So to understand how women transform all of these spaces, we have to look at the women of kingdom ambassadorship. First, the W, we are wise peacemakers, because transformative leadership requires some wisdom. And multilateral spaces are often full of hidden agendas, as many of us female diplomats are already aware. So, this is the highest standard of diplomatic ethics, not just managing the conflicts, but changing the atmosphere of the room, because women do that the best. We lead with like a sincerity that disarms all of the hostility that can happen at those tables. And secondly, we orchestrate reconciliation. Resolution 1325 demands inclusive peace processes. So, this is what in kingdom terms is known as the Ministry of Reconciliation. All orchestrators help to guide opposing people, opposing instruments into harmony. I wrote a book called Building Bridges. When the world says choose a side, ethical diplomacy says build a bridge. And as orchestrators, our multilateral assignment is to facilitate those kinds of dialogues that draw fractured people and nations back together and back to God. And we're also mediators of healing. We negotiate not merely for a transfer of power, but to preserve life. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they'll be called the children of God, what it says in a very holy book. So diplomacy without healing is literally just a temporary ceasefire, and we all know that that doesn't mean the end of any war. So like Abigail in the Old Testament, we step into the middle of serious conflicts to mediate healing, ensuring that our agreements look beyond the battlefield into the future of our families, because women represent families. And we're also emissaries of justice. True multilateral engagement cannot ignore the marginalized. We have to speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves, and we have to defend the rights of the poor and needy. And women have always, always done that. We use our diplomatic platforms to ensure that women, children, and those who are displaced are written into the treaties and into the protections. We ensure that justice remains the cornerstone of our peace agreements. And then lastly, we're the navigators of restoration. Multilateral agreements made in Geneva or in New York, they mean very little if we don't translate them to safety on the streets, on the ground, in our homes. Women weave high-level treaties into the fabric of everyday life. We rebuild trust, we repair broken walls, and we restore communities so our children and their children's children can dwell in safely. Safety is priority for every woman's household. So to every woman here today, whether you're a mom, whether you're a wife, whatever capacity you hold as a woman, your presence in diplomacy in multilateral spaces is not an accident. Your ethical compass isn't a weakness, it's your greatest diplomatic asset. To be a woman makes you what is needed in diplomacy. And remember who sent you to the table. Remember to be a wise peacemaker, an orchestrator of reconciliation, a mediator of healing in the room, an emissary of justice, and a navigator of restoration. These pieces put together allow us to be those who lead with sincerity, who lead with things that only women can bring to the table. So, to help you remember these 5 things, it is the acronym WOMEN, WOMEN. Wise peacemakers, orchestrators of reconciliation, mediators of healing, emissaries of justice, and then lastly, we are those who are the navigators of restoration. So thank you so much for this time today. And I pray that each and every one of you continues on the road to peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor McNay. I really like your acronym. I'm a poet and I always come up with acronyms. And I would also like to add a W is we are winners. That's why we are
Yes,
there.
we
And
are.
thank you everybody for being here. So now our last but not least speaker is Ambassador Dr. Bouquet Burnley, the representative of CICA International University to the UN, and she's the Deputy Director of Department of Leadership and Women. So, Dr. Burnley, I would like to invite you to just make your brief remarks, and thank you all for indulging us. We are about 12 minutes because we started a few minutes late over schedule, but thank you for your indulgence. So, Madam Dr. Burnley, can you please take it away? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. And I'm really honored to be here, distinguished guests, ambassadors. And of course, I'm so grateful for Professor Ada for organizing this. And I just traveled in. I just arrived Toronto. I've been traveling 48 hours now from Cameroon, West Africa, and I'm in the car, and I just was glad that I'm able to even do this. So going straight to the point, I thank God for the speakers that I was able to hear speak. And I want to close by saying that the issue is what next, right? We've heard all these wonderful acronyms, and I'm going to add one more to it. But I just want to speak to us that as women peace ambassadors, there are 4 major things that we need to put in place to make sure that peace will reign. We need to cultivate peace. We need to cultivate it's like plant, build it, grow it. And the first thing is the purpose. We don't want to waste our time. Purpose of peace. I know that looks like a simple, like, what does she mean, purpose of peace? Let me give you an example. Where the purpose of peace is, for example, because people want to trade, do business, that kind of purpose can already tell you that that peace is not going to be sustainable. Why? Because it's about trade and commerce, which is a good thing. But by the way, by the time they find another market where they can go and do their business, then they lose the motivation to mediate for peace. They just go on to the next market, and then your people are left on your own. So it's always important as we are trying to raise peace ambassadors as women, and as we are trying to get involved in other organizations that work for peace, always ask that question. What is the purpose? Why do you want this peace in this situation? Because that is what is going to tell you whether you are just beating about or whether you are going to get sustainable peace. Now, whereas peace, that the purpose is to love one another and end human suffering. Now, that one usually survives and it lasts longer. And a good example was in Northern Ireland, 1998, where even though most people thought it was brilliant leadership that called that peace, but the Northern Ireland Women's Coalition these women formed a coalition across the board, and they were able to handle sensitive matters which the bigger parties that were involved in the peace did not look into, like, for example, reintegration of prisoners, reconciliation, victims' rights, and all those things. Because even if the peace is signed, but you don't take care of all those things, there goes again more wars. So next thing, as women peace ambassadors, to pay attention to is have a plan. And that looks simple, like, okay, but what, there's a plan. The reason why you have to have a plan is because things are going to change, and your plan, your original plan, is what is going to guide you. We see again an example of a woman in Liberia. She later on, her name was Lema Bogwe. She later on became a Nobel Peace winner. What did she do? She gathered women, Christians and Muslims. They forgot about religious barriers, and they came together and they had a non-violent sit-in night vigils demonstrations, which forced the president to come back to the negotiating table within that year. But they were consistent. They wouldn't let go. So before we just get involved that, peace ambassadors and everything, ask them, what is your plan? And reason that, okay, this plan, what is it going to work? Third thing I want us to pay attention to is that there is a process. There is a process. And why it's important is because there are going to be challenges. There are going to be obstacles. If you don't know their process, if you don't see the process, you might get discouraged and give up before time. A really good example happened in Colombia, 2016. That's not far away, where there were discussions. And guess what? In the beginning of the peace talks, out of 20 peace negotiators, there was just one woman. One woman. But you know what? By the time, 4 years later, by the time they got into the peace thing, guess what? They had at least about 20% of the government negotiators were women. And then in the other camp, 43% were women. But it took time. It took 4 years. So let us not romanticize what it means to be a peace ambassador. There is a process. We need to understand that there will be challenges, and then we work accordingly. And finally, the fourth thing to understand is propitiation. What are you giving in exchange? So they say they want to talk about peace, but you need to understand, if I'm getting involved in this peace movement, what plans do they have concerning the parties that are in conflict? What are these parties, or what are we going to convince these parties to give to each other to build trust, to show goodwill? Because if these things don't happen, then actually this propitiation, this is the glue that holds mediation, that holds dialogue, that holds reconciliation. Some gestures of goodwill is not just talking. So there's so many examples that I could go into, but I'm not going to go into those examples now because of time. But I want to say that while we sit here on Zoom and talk about peace and women of peace, last year I was in Cameroon. I'm telling you from my personal experience. And for those of you who are aware and know that we're facing an election, the whole world kind of thought that the country was going to erupt in civil war. But God told me, go there and pray. That is, go on the ground. So while people who had money were running out of the country, my husband and I, we bought a ticket for me to go to the same country. And I stayed on the ground. And there were times when I was leaving, even at the airport, I took one last look at my husband and my children, because it dawned on me that that might be the last time that I see them, because I'm walking and going to a place where everybody's expecting that there will be war, there will be outbreak of civil war. And so it's not enough for us to like I say, romanticize, theorize all these things. If you are going to be a female peace ambassador, whether you have military training or not, whether you have your acronyms or your policies, if you are not yet ready to go in the ground and go into the battlefield where other women and their children are running for their lives, then you need to reconsider. You are just doing a symbolic duty. And there's enough of symbolic duties that people have been doing concerning peace. So I want to leave us. I went there. It wasn't easy. There were times when I had to move from place to place in an armored car with armored escorts. And even with that, if the people had landmines, that they would just, but it was real danger. And I thank God that God took me there and brought me back. And I thank God that God kept his word. The civil war didn't happen. Peace reigned. So I really want to encourage us with this one thing. I've said 4 things here now. I've said, check the purpose for the peace. Check the plan that the people have. Check the process. And what is the
Thank
proputation?
you so much.
Make sure that you are ready to go on ground if they need you to. If you're not ready to go on ground if they need you to, then I'm sad to say it will just end up being a symbolic gesture. So thank you for having me here. God bless you all.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your sharing your personal insights and speaking to us from the car. Thank you. And I apologize because I interjected again. It's not that I want to do it because of the lack of time. And now I'm going to give it to Ada to finish up, like giving, your call to action. But one thing I wanted to say is that as women, we can do it. We have to do it. We have been doing it. And last but not least, we are in this together. And also, Ada, because I see 2 questions posted here. So I would like to bring up those questions. So maybe you could include them, Professor Ada, Ambassador. I know I have to give you your titles, but you're Ada, you're my sister and partner in crime. So it just automatically comes as Ada because of the affection. So the question we have here is, when do we think a woman is ready to become or take the UN SG desk based on the structures? And what are we as women in diplomacy doing to prepare prospects for this position? So maybe as you're wrapping this up, you could say that. And also, I would like to thank everybody, our esteemed presenters, all the ambassadors, and all the women and everywhere in the world who are unofficial ambassadors of peace. So thank you. Ada, take it away. And can you wrap up in 3 to 4 minutes because we are running behind schedule? Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Over to you, Ada.
Yeah, thank you, my friend in crime. I thank you for Dr. Padmini Moti, the professor of gynecology at the, I think, Hunter University or Hospital Hunter in New York. We've been a friend for more than 15 years, getting to 20 years. We've worked together. We've tried to
And we survived each other and got stronger,
yes,
right?
we've tried to project the initiative of My Sister's Health Watch. And I thank God for His Excellency, Dr. Dennis Antoine, when he was the Vice President of UN General Assembly, UNGA, for 69 section. We launched this initiative at the UN, and it was myself and Dr. Mini, because we are trying how to position women within the Charter of United Nations. So it's been a long journey with this, my friend. And anytime I knock at her door, she answers. Yesterday we were at the event on political declaration of HIV/AIDS, and we talked about women in diplomacy. What does it look like? How do we, what is the outcome on this event? And we discussed extensively on what we would think to be the outcome on women in diplomacy, especially with female peace ambassadors. You know, there are categories of female ambassadors. You have the categories from the member states. We have those categories, and then we talk about the issue of the women in faith-based community. When we talk about the faith-based, we are looking at the issues of women in all religion. You know, these women in all religion are involved with the Charter of the United Nations in their various capacities. So it's not just talking about women in diplomacy. There are dimensions, there are strategies, there are logistics of women in diplomacy in various dimensions. We have women in diplomacy from the civil society dimension. We have women in diplomacy from the faith-based dimension. We have women in diplomacy from the member state dimension. We have women in diplomacy for the government dimension. So there are different dimensions of women in diplomacy. But the bone of contention is, what are we driving at? You know, there are a lot of women within the periphery of the United Nations, either as the undersecretary envoy or undersecretary secretary or assistant secretary. There are a lot of women in diplomacy, but what are we driving at? And this event, organized by the Mission of Water and Sanitation, the Permanent Observer Mission of Water and Sanitation to the United Nations, and the Department of Northeastern Affairs of WOLMI International Department of Northeastern Affairs, found it laudable to bring in the female peace ambassadors. And these female peace ambassadors are the categories of women from the faith-based communities. You know, the United Nations is for everyone. It's not just for those who are inside the United Nations. Because in the United Nations, you have the member state, you have the civil societies. And we are trying to bring in the female peace ambassador in faith-based organizations. I don't care what religion you are in. We have more than 500 religions across the world. And there are a lot of women in these faith organizations. And we need to give them the focus that women in peace, women in diplomacy are inclusive of all these women. And if they are inclusive, what are we driving at? That is the bone of contention. And I thank God for the speakers of this event who highlighted so many dimensions, who sort of digressed or dissected this theme that we are looking at. So what are we talking about? We are talking about strengthening visibility of female peace ambassadors. If you are in any religion as a woman, you are a female peace ambassador. And it is the mandate for us or for this platform to advocate or to make you learn or to make you put on your garment as an advocate for peace ambassadorship. We also consider the enhanced understanding of women's influence in conflict resolution. This event has deepened their knowledge of how women participation improve negotiation outcomes, strengthen community trust, and contribute to sustainable peace. Without women, there will be no peace. No matter how you define it, no matter how you take it, Think about yourself as a woman, as a wife, as a mother in your home. When there is rivalry between father and children, you bridging the gap. In most situations, some women have to kneel down for their husband to consider the situation of their children. What men don't understand that when your son is 20 years, he is like your age mate. And you cannot control him. For women, you can manipulate. But for men, you cannot. And for peace to reign, it is the wife, your mother should come in. In most instances, she will kneel down to beg you. So what are we talking about? Peace. Peace starts from the bedroom. She will take you, you'll be in the bedroom, she will kneel down to beg, allow your son to be what he wants to be. There are testimonies about this.
Thank you. Can you wrap up in 1 minute, please?
I will. We need to talk about commitment to gender-responsive peace building. The permanent mission of water and sanitation has launched an initiative of Water Her as a responsive initiative to look at peace. Water Her for peace. Water Her for empowerment. Water Her for progress. Water Her for sustainability. We need to water women. So it is like a pH balance we are looking at. Women to the right and women to the left. And then in the middle is the pH balance. If this pH balance does not come up, then we are not doing anything. We are talking about today. It's a global agenda. There have been so many discussions on women in diplomacy. But how diplomatic are you as a woman? How diplomatic are you as a woman? We don't need to talk about our own self. We need to bring ourselves out of the box for sustainability. We have less than 4 years to go for the 2030 development agenda. What are we doing? The entire 17 goals and 169 targets are talking about involvement of women. Let us stand up for what we have to do in order to enable peaceful coexistence across the world, in all regions, for sustainability. And I want to also add that with this event, from what I've heard from all the speakers, in 1 second, the Department of Northeastern Affairs of World of Life Ministries International, which is the very first faith-based organization that got ECOSOC status at the United Nations. We are talking about the involvement of women in faith-based communities. I don't care what religion you believe, but we are talking about faith-based communities. And in these faith-based communities, we have to look inwards. We have to look out of the box to see how we can merge the entire women in faith-based communities to address the issue of peace. Because the issue of peace, it lies in the hands of women. I'm a Christian. Go back to their Bible. Start from the situation in Genesis in the book of Genesis. Even through the book of Revelation, the issue about women for peace is in the hands of women. And it is my mandate with you to stand up to this cause. If you look at Acts 9:15, it says you are called as an ambassador. If you are called as an ambassador, you need to look at you being ambassador for peace, ambassador for sustainability. And in another book of the Bible, it says that there's a rumor that ambassador is born. As a woman, you are an ambassador that is born. So let us stand up to advance our cause. Our cause. And we are, from the Department of Northeastern Affairs, advocating for the Pact for Female Peace Ambassadors to enable us have a coalition of ambassadors across sectors. The World of Life Ministries International International Consulting Cabinet, we are above all the countries. We are more than 67 members across thousands members, 67,000 members of peace ambassadors. In this 67,000 peace ambassadors, we have women. We need to come together to see how we can advocate, speak, and also talk about the issue about peace across the world. This is a mandate. Peace cannot come by sitting in your home. Women has to rise up. And when we rise up, there is action. Think about what happened in Liberia. It was a woman that rose up and organized women, and there was peace. So let us talk about peace, and let us advocate the issue about women in diplomacy. We have been diplomatic even from the bedroom. We have been diplomatic even from our children and family. So it is our mandate. This is the garment we wear, and we cannot remove that garment. So I want to thank every speaker, the parliamentarian, Honorable Sarah, Ambassador Her Excellencies, Dr. Agnes from Malawi, and all of you that spoke. And then Her Excellency, Dr. Okeke from Nigeria, for all you have ideas you have. I'm so much concerned, and I'm going to reach out to each and every one of you. Those of you from the corridors of United Nations who took it upon to speak and bring in your intervention to this meeting. I'm so grateful, and I thank you for that. And I want to thank the Word of Life Ministries International, International Consulting Cabinet. I want to appreciate Dr. Philip Finn, and I want to appreciate the president of SAICA International University, Dr. Sharon Finn, for all their efforts to put together women peace ambassadors in this time. And I want to appreciate every member of Department of Northeastern Affairs for their strive to bring in together peace ambassadors to advocate the Charter of the United Nations and the policy of Word of Life Ministry International in order for us to reposition women every corner of the world, to look inwards to see what we can do to enable sustainability in terms of peace and harmony across the world. I thank you, and I bless God for you.
Thank you so much, Ada, for your rousing speech. Because of the lack of time, I was saying. So the last thing I want to say, in addition to Liberia, Arab Spring, so it's women who have been making a difference. And I would like to conclude by, because I write poetry, with a poem I wrote, Diplomat. This amazing diplomat plays an integral part in promoting equity with unparalleled integrity and working day and night to make things right. In the quest to promote peace, to give many a new lease, you continue to inspire and one many admire. So this is for all the women, because everybody does what they do. Thank you so much, everybody. And just to add to what Ada said, we are here, and together we are stronger, and we go ahead more than singly. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. On all the attendees, thank you for attending. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Dr.
God
Ada.
bless you.
Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Ada.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you, Dr. Ada, and your work. Much
God bless
appreciated.
you. God bless you, Ambassador. Thank you so much for attending, and thank you for your time. We bless God for everything. Let us drive the mission of Pact for you and for peace, female peace ambassador.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, my friend. We continue to drive this mission. Thank you.
We all do as women. We have to.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you so
Yes,
much,
and I thank
everybody, to
His
all our
Excellency.
attendees, everybody.
I thank His Excellency Ambassador Dennis Antoine. Oh
Yes.
my God, it has been a strength to me and you, Dr. Mini. He has been on the line and listening to all we have been saying and chatting me up on WhatsApp. Thank you, Your Excellency, for supporting
Yes,
us.
thank you, Your
God bless
Excellency.
you.
We are very grateful to you, sir. It's an honor to work with you. Thank you, everybody. Have a